morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and we knew that we were getting one more Radiant Pokemon, and that Radiant Pokemon is here. And to the surprise of most people, it's Steelix. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is one of the weirdest Pokemon we've seen so far. This has one of the weirdest attacks we've seen so far. This one, I feel extremely confident nobody saw this coming. And even if you saw Steelix coming, you definitely did not see this attack coming. This is a very weird attack indeed. Now, starting off, this actually has pretty huge HP. It's got 170, which for a Radiant Pokemon is very high. We saw that Greninja had 130. That's a Stage 2 that came through as a Radiant Pokemon. This coming through with 170 is absolutely huge. We can compare it to Gardevoir as well, which we know is actually in this set. And Gardevoir, again, is coming in with a fairly paltry 130. As a Radiant Pokemon, this is huge. And it's got a weakness to fire, which is not a huge deal right now. Fire is not seeing a huge amount of play. So all in all, this one's a bit of a beast that's going to last a while. Now, the translation, it does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, although I will say I translated the first attack all by my lonesome, and then checked with Antoine. The second attack, nah, not even close. Not even close. But it's one of the weirdest attacks we've seen, so come on. Although I will say, as weird as it is, it does have precedent. We'll get there in a moment. So what we've got here is 1 colourless energy, 20 damage, attach up to 2 metal energy from your discard to this Pokemon. It's fine. It's alright. The thing is, 20 damage, you're doing like naffle. You're doing very little with 20 damage. This is not a lot of damage, alright? You're really just using this to accelerate energy to yourself. And I've made the point in many videos, and I stand by this, incidentally, that that's not ideal. Because if you're accelerating energy to yourself with your attack, basically what you're doing is sitting in the active, getting some energy on you, and then letting your opponent have a free hit. Well, that's generally not a great idea. You do have very high HP for Radiant Pokemon, which is nice, and you only give up 1 prize, and you've got an uncommon weakness. There's a lot to like about this, but it is worth bearing in mind. This first attack, yes, it's good for getting energy on you, but you're accelerating to the active, and then you're just letting your opponent have a free hit. You have been warned, ladies and gentlemen. You have been warned. But the second attack is the one which has got everybody talking for very good reason. 2 metal, 1 colourless energy, 60 damage. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you have 1 card remaining in your deck. This attack does 30 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. And it is important, it says each energy card, not each basic energy or each metal energy or anything along these lines. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all of the yes. And this is a super weird attack, because one of 2 things has to be true when you're using this attack. Either this is the attack that wins you the game, or you've got some way to not deck out. So one good example we've got here is something we saw over at the European International Championships and Liverpool Regionals in various ways with Sander Wojcik, and that is the Eldegoss V loop. And that will stop you decking out. So Eldegoss V for 2 energy does 50 damage, and then you shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. So essentially what happens is that you use Steelix, you end up with 1 card remaining in your deck. Next turn, you draw your only card, and then you start Eldegoss looping to make sure that you never actually deck out. Of course, this can backfire. This absolutely can backfire, because if your opponent's got any milling whatsoever, you will lose. So, Durant is the one we've obviously got at the moment. For each of your Durant in play, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Well, 1 Durant with no other Durant in play, if it discards the top card of your deck, you won't ever get a chance to start looping. Because what's going to happen is that your opponent will discard the last card in your deck, it will go to your turn, and then you'll deck out. And there's no way around it, because it's the attack of Steelix that discards till you got 1 card left in your deck, and then your opponent can just mill a single card, and you will deck out, guaranteed. It doesn't even have to be Durant. Could be anything. Anything that mills even a single card will get this very, very nicely. And that's kind of a pain, because it makes this very, very easy to counter. Although, to be fair, like, the best thing we would have really is the Bunnelby from Rebel Clash, because it's 1 colorless energy, discard the top card of your opponent's deck, but that will be rotating. Like I said, at the moment, these cards we're looking at are basically post-rotation cards. There isn't actually anything that amazing. I mean, Durant is the best option we've got in terms of a basic Pokemon discarding from the top of your opponent's deck. I'm looking over on PKMN cards, and it is actually, Durant post-rotation, which is the best option, which isn't for a colorless energy, which is a bonus, I suppose, but there's going to be something at some point which could come in here, so don't get excited. And you've got to bear that in mind. If you're playing Radiant Steelix, if your opponent plays any milling whatsoever, no matter how weak that milling is, you will end up losing. Because they can mill a single card and you will lose. Please do bear that in mind. But the thing is, this is one of those where if you desperately need a big attack, or if you've got 1 attack left to win, or whatever it might be, this will get you the win. Like, you should know how many energy are in your deck. You should know how many you play, and as soon as you do a deck search, you can see how many are prized, you can see how many are on the board, you can see how many are in the discard. You should know. You should be able to know for an absolute fact exactly how many are in your deck. So, you should know when you do this if you're going to get the KO or not. Now, you always need to take, when you're doing the calculations, you always need to take 30 damage away. Assume you've got 1 less energy card than you do, because remember, you're leaving 1 card in deck that could be an energy. But if I need to do 180 damage, well, if I've got 5 energy in deck, it's guaranteed. Because worst case scenario is I only discard 4 and 1's left in the deck, 120 plus a 60 base, 180, you're good. I love this. The problem is, you can be playing a bunch of recovery cards, but you'll discard them as well. So you need to be able to loop, or you need to have some kind of recovery Pokemon. A Pokemon that's going to get everything back. So something like the Azumarill from Fusion Strike that's got that rather lovely dive and rescue attack, puts 3 in any combination of Pokemon and supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand, and then obviously you can use some supporter cards to get stuff back and all of that. That could work. Absolutely. But that's what you're looking at here. You need either a Pokemon already on the board and ready to go that can recover, or you need to have some kind of loop setup like Eldegoss, or you need to be able to win the game right now. But you know what? I adore this. As a late game option in a metal deck, I love it. Now, it is a bit sad that we're losing Metal Saucer, because that would obviously be great here. But we're still going to have Bronze Zone that lets you move your metal energy around the field, which is quite nice. So as long as your energy's on something, because this will survive the rotation because it was in battle styles, you can move it around and then jobs are good 'un. And then you can basically bench this, use the attack. I mean, Energy Recycler becomes a great card here, because Energy Recycler will just put 5 energy back into your deck, guaranteeing an extra 120 damage. Maybe you end up getting the 150, but you can't rely on that. That was also in battle styles, so that will also survive the rotation. So I love the idea here of playing stuff like that, and then just getting all your energy back into your deck, and then just being able to guarantee some just huge smashing attack. I love it. I think it is a very hard card to use. I think it's super awkward, and it's clearly only for metal decks, because even though it can do damage based on any energy, you still need to have 2 metal on there. You could just play 2 random metal energy and then attach them from the discard using the first attack and then use it, but then you're really showing your opponent what you're doing, and it's all getting way too awkward at that stage. So yeah, it's an awkward card. But oh my goodness, it's a fun one. For anyone wondering, the comparison here was to Gyarados Star. For 4 fire energy, did 50 damage, discard till you got 1 card left, 20 more for each energy discarded. This is obviously better, but we've also had the power creep here, so I'm going to leave that one up to you. But that was, incidentally, kind of interestingly, that was, a special card. The star cards, you can only play 1 of any type in your deck, just like we see with Radiant Pokemon. So I do love the kind of callback to that. But this is still a very weird, unusual attack, one we don't generally tend to see, and I for one am happy to see it back. Although, because we're talking Radiant Pokemon, it would be remiss of me if I did not mention quickly, you gotta bear in mind you're only allowed to play one of any type in your deck. And that means that if you're playing this, you're not playing something like a Greninja to discard an energy and draw 2 cards every turn, which is really good. So please do bear that in mind. I'm giving this one between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I love this card. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I also think it's one of the more awkward cards to use we've seen in a long time. But man, if it works. Oh, and also, just quickly, anytime your opponent's only got 1 Pokemon in play, if you can actually pull this attack off, you know, it's turn 2, you've managed to get the energy on, your opponent's only got 1 Pokemon, discard your entire deck, who cares, you're winning the game. I want this to work because it looks fun, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.